My name is Alex Green. This is my YouTube channel. The views I'm about to express are my own, but the more you listen, they're probably yours as well. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of these social media influencers on every platform getting on every day, making posts about how the United States needs to abolish the Second Amendment, needs more gun control, we need ammo control. Who in their right mind needs a weapon? I'm tired of these wannabe celebrities and that monstrosity we call the news basically echoing the same thing every time we turn it on. The straw that broke the camel's back for me, and the reason why I'm doing this video, was a video I saw on TikTok of somebody talking about, why does somebody need a full semi-automatic? Let's get it straight. There is no such thing as a full semi-automatic. I'm going to call this video Gun Terms 101. If you're not familiar with firearms but you want to learn, this is the video for you. If you want to make somebody unfamiliar with gun terms that just want to say what they saw on social media or like monstrosity we call the news, send them this video. Let's start with rate of fire. What exactly is rate of fire? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked. Rate of fire means how many rounds fire out of that weapon each time you pull the trigger. So if you pull the trigger once and one round fires out of it, guess what that is? That's a semi-automatic. Doesn't matter if it's a rifle, a shotgun, or a handgun. Doesn't matter. If one round comes out each time you pull that trigger, guess what? That's a semi-automatic. Now there are what's called burst and there are what's called fully automatics. There is no such thing as a full semi-automatic. It's either semi-automatic, burst, or full auto. Burst means that when you squeeze the trigger, that you have more than one round that comes out. Now it doesn't mean you're going to completely empty your mag. You may have a 3-round burst, a 5-round burst. Who knows what your burst is, but a burst is 3 rounds, 5 rounds, then it stops. A fully automatic means when you pull the trigger, the rounds will continue to fire with one trigger pull, either until you let go of the trigger or your ammunition source runs dry. And while I'm on the topic of that, the weapon itself is not a semi-automatic, it is not a burst, it is not a fully automatic. The trigger mechanism or the firing mechanism, what we call a lower on rifles, is what makes a weapon semi-automatic, burst, or fully automatic. Weapons can have more than one barrel. We know most people associate shotguns with being a double barrel shotgun, and that is a legitimate thing. But those are also semi-automatics as well. They're called break action, which I'll talk about just in a second. But one trigger pull means one round fired. It's not that now shotguns do have magazine tubes. I'll cover that just in a second. There can be semi-automatic shotguns. There can be fully automatic shotguns, which means trigger pull, the weapon continues to fire until the user lets off the trigger or the ammunition source runs dry, whichever comes first. Point being, you can have more than one barrel on a weapon. How are weapons supplied ammunition? That's another good question, and I'm glad that you asked that. For the most part, weapons are supplied ammunition through a magazine. Now there's two different types people interchange. There's magazines and there's clips. I'll talk about both of them, and of course you'll see examples on the screen. But a magazine for the most part is completely enclosed, as you're seeing here, like I said, with different examples. There's handgun magazines, there's shotgun magazines, there's rifle magazines, but a clip, the weapon exposes, or the clip exposes the ammunition when it's inserted into the firearm. Most clips that you see come from older style rifles. Now, are there handgun clips? Probably. They're very rare if they do exist, but I'm not saying that they don't exist. But notice the difference between a magazine and a clip. But Alex, what about those big scary long looking things where it has like a lever underneath or like a bolt on the side? Where do they get their ammo from? Oh, you mean lever action or bolt action rifles? Good question. I'm going to tell you. They have a magazine well, and you either can load the ammo, as you're seeing here, you can load it from the side and wrench the ammunition in that way, or some of them have an internal magazine to where you can load 4 or 5 rounds in the weapon each time you wrench your lever or each time you use your bolt. A new round is inserted into the chamber. Once it's fired, you can eject it out. For the most part, there's 2 main types of handguns. As I've said on a different video a long time ago, there are magazine-fed semi-automatic handguns, and then there's cylinder-fed revolver type weapons. Now, I know there's like single shot and all that kind of stuff, But the two main types you're going to see are a magazine-fed semi-automatic or a cylinder-fed revolver handgun. Now the magazines, they can hold different amounts. They're different calibers, can hold different amounts. And the cylinders are 6 shooters, 5 shooters, 7 shooters, 8 shooters, all that kind of stuff. But those are the two main types. Your magazine-fed semi-automatics and then your cylinder-fed revolver-style handguns. As you're seeing, there are two main types of shotguns. There is what's called the break action and the pump action. Now the break action can be single barrel or double barrel. There might be an obscure 3, 4, 5 barrel, whatever, but those are rare. I've never seen anything more than a double barrel. There could be more than that. I've never seen it, but just know that possibly could exist. But probably the most common type of shotgun you'll see is a pump action. That could be 12 gauge, 20 gauge, 16 gauge, a 410, 10 gauge, all that kind of stuff, 28 gauge, different gauges. But those are the two main types. Pump action, which means you actually have to, after each trigger pull, you have to wrench the action, as it's known, to get another round to be put in the chamber to fire. And the break action single shot pretty much means what it says is one trigger pull equals one round in the chamber. You have to break the weapon down. As you're seeing, it kind of breaks like a V. You have to put in a new shell and fire it that way. Double barrel, well, it gives you 2 shots. On just about every action movie, war movie, TV wars movie, anything of that nature, you'll see the hero, whoever the action star is, running towards the enemy fire with what looks like a big machine gun. Ones that come to mind are like Rambo, T2, Terminator 2, when Arnold's up in that Cyberdyne building and he's firing at the police. He doesn't kill anybody, but he's using that minigun. Those are belt-fed weapons. That's just another way that the weapon is supplied ammunition. It does not use a magazine or anything of that nature. They're just using a belt. And like you'll see them have with the big ammo belts, like on their person or whatever. We know that style kind of become popular in Vietnam because they were using those type of weapons over there. You see a lot of guys, or like some of the statues even in DC has men and women with the ammo belts on. Just another way that the weapon is supplied ammunition. To go along with the bolt action and lever action magazine well or magazine tube, most shotguns have a magazine tube where the ammunition goes in there as well. Most of them are fed from the bottom. There can be some from the side or whatever. I know there's variants. For the most part, they're fed from the bottom up. You can hold who knows how many each, the length of the shell, the type of weapon that you have, type of how long the magazine is, what your state allows. They all hold different amounts. But know that shotguns for the most part do have a magazine well where ammo is stored. Also, another type of ammunition source is called a drum mag. Those can be for rifles, shotguns, and handgun ammunition. It just depends on what you're working with. And there can be 50-round drums, 100-round drums, 200-round drums, whatever the case is. They can house the ammo just like a regular mag. You just have more of it, whatever the purpose is, whether you're competition, or whether you keep one in your house for personal defense, whatever the case is. You just be aware that there are drum mags for handguns, shotguns, and rifles. This part mainly deals with handguns, but that doesn't mean there can't be a shotgun or a rifle with the same type of action. There's what's called single action, which means you have to cock the hammer. If you watch my video on Dirty Harry with the 44 Magnum, that 44 Magnum was a single action only, meaning you had to cock the hammer before you could fire. You couldn't just squeeze the trigger and it fire. You had to cock the hammer back, watch the cylinder turn. Once you pulled the trigger, it would strike, the firing pin would strike, boom, there goes your round. To go along with that, we have what's called a single action double action, meaning that you can cock the weapon and fire it that way, or you can squeeze the trigger and the hammer will go back, the cylinder will turn, whatever you're dealing with, and it fires that way. Single action, double action. Then we have what's called double action only. The best way to determine what you have is if it's hammerless. If most of these are dealing with handguns, but not saying there can't be a rifle or a shotgun with the same thing. But if it's hammerless, that means it's double action only. Means when you complete a trigger pull, the round will fire. It's not that you have to cock it or anything of that nature. It's hammerless. There's no, and you're seeing examples here as you saw on everything else. If it's hammerless, that means it's double action only. G.I. Joe used to say, knowing's half the battle. And Schoolhouse Rock used to say, knowledge is power. With this video, you guys have some knowledge now maybe you didn't have before. Maybe you're new to weapons. Maybe you're trying to get somebody to purchase their own weapon for personal safety with the way our crazy world is. Show them this video and give them some information about weapons. Give them some information, some accurate information about weapons, and not just what they see from their favorite social media influencer or what they see on that monstrosity we call the news. Again, my name is Alex Green. Thank you for watching. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel. Give this video a big one of these. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but like I said the other day, the full semi-automatic just sent me over the edge, and I had to do this with this platform. We'll catch you guys on the next one. You guys be easy.